Hi guys, welcome to Live with Amara. It's my first video on YouTube and I'm really excited to be starting this journey. On this channel, I'll be discussing things relating to personal stories, my life experiences, career growth, friendship, and whatnot. I feel like for a lady in her 20s, I've had like very nice experience and I would like to put this out there for everyone to learn from. Life is better shared, so why not? If this sounds like something that you would vibe with, please like, comment, share with your friends and family, and let's get right into today's video. So today I'll be talking about some of the first few jobs I did and the lessons I learned on these jobs. The first job I did was that of a lab technician. For many of us, when we first knew that we were going to have a job, we were excited because job is money. But for me, I was worried. I was scared. I was feeling everything. I was also excited, but then I was scared. I was wondering like, what do I get to do here? Because I was just in 100 level at that time, my first year, and we had an ASU strike, and that was what made me to pick a job. Now you know how it is in Nigeria when you don't need to complete your uni or have a certification to do a particular job role. That was my experience. So my dad encouraged me to have this job. It was sort of an intern type of thing, just for me to have something that related to my career path in school, my school career path. So it was a lab technician, and what I was studying at that time was microbiology. So at that time, I was very, very nervous. I was worried. I was scared, you know. And then when I started working, I was a bit more relaxed. I stayed there for like the first 2 weeks. I did not do anything. I just kept listening, asking questions, watching. And to be honest, I felt like maybe I shouldn't be here. Maybe I shouldn't come to work because there was nothing to do really. I just had to keep watching and listening. And then in my head, I felt like, when do I get to start working? I came here to work, I didn't come here to study. So give me a chance. I felt like my friends out there, they were having fun, watching TV, doing other things, pressing their phone, and then I have to be here. Even though I was happy to leave the house from washing plates, doing house chores, I did not want to be in a place where I was just going to sit down, asking questions. I did not like that. And that brings me to the first lesson, which is to always show up. I know as Gen Zs, I know as people in my age grade, like I know it's easy for us to say, you know what, I'm going to stop coming here. I take decision of my life. I'm not going to be here. I don't want to do this anymore. It's boring. It's this, it's that, blah, blah, blah. I kept showing up. And then over time, in my third week, that was when I was being allowed to start doing stuff. Now, in your experience, maybe it's going to take longer than that, shorter than that, but the lesson here is going to be for you to keep showing up, because at the end of the day, everything that you are watching, every question that you are asking, these are the things that will build up your skills at the end of the day. Like, these are the things that you would be able to use to perform the tasks that will be given to you. So you have to keep showing up. You cannot have a job and say, you know what, my first few months I'm not doing anything. I've not been doing anything. I'm just going to stay back. I'm just going to start applying elsewhere. I'm just going to start doing XYZ. You have to stay there and you have to learn on the job, especially if you are new in this job thing. If you're new in this job thing, you have to keep showing up. You have to keep asking questions, even when it feels like you are not being given a chance. So the second job I did, it was still the same role as the first, a lab technician role. But in this situation here, I had the experience of the lab technician role, and I also had like school knowledge because what I was being taught in school as a microbiologist related to a part of a lab technician role. So I felt more relaxed, more confident. I felt a little bit of pride because in my head I thought like, I have this sorted, I can do this, and I had more expectation in terms of money, in terms of what I was going to be paid. But you know what? I did not get paid. And in my head, I was like, how will I work and not get paid? But then that was my experience. I did not get paid. And that did not stop me from coming to work. That did not stop me from showing up. In fact, that leads me to the second lesson, which is, if you are not earning, then you should be learning. On this job role, While I was working here, I learned a lot of the soft skills that I use today in my CV. The fact that I did not get paid did not stop me from showing up early to work, doing my tasks diligently, controlling the environment, knowing how to relate to clients, problem solving. I had to still do all of these things. And I know for some of us, it's like a situation where you know what, I'm not getting paid. I'll not be here. I'll not be wasting my time, which is fine. If you have something that you know is going to give you money while you're working, by all means do it. And if you're working in a place where you're neither earning nor learning, then I think you should run. I know, like most of us, we feel like how did you manage yourself? How did you show up? All thanks to my parents. They were there for me. They helped me with my transportation and everything I needed, so I was sorted financially. The next thing I learned on this job was to let your boss be the boss. I felt a sense of pride when I started. I felt like I had this sorted. I have this figured out. You know what? I could even come here and then push this boss away. But then when I started working, I realized that if I allowed the pride in me to overwhelm me, I probably will not learn even more things than I had learned in the previous job experience. So I had to behave as though I did not know anything. Now, when it was time for me to speak out, I was able to speak out. When it was time for me to keep quiet and listen and learn, I was able to still do that. And eventually, my boss knew that I was kind of person that was teachable, and then she taught me everything I knew on that job. At the end of the day, she got a better role and I had to manage that place. I managed it by myself for almost a year, and then I groomed two more people behind me, or two more people that came after. And it was a very, very nice experience. I eventually became the boss and I enjoyed it there. It was nice, it was lovely. So the third job experience I would like to talk about is when I was a teacher. Yes, I was a teacher after university, right before NYSC. So this wasn't my ideal job. Of course, I wanted a high class job, but that wasn't coming. I searched and searched and searched. I looked beyond the mountain and the hills. I did not find I did not find the job. And then eventually I had to go for a teaching job. I think I think that was a very, very good experience for me. And the lesson I learned from this job is to not despise the days of thy little beginning. Yes. So during my final year, we had someone come speak to us, although I've always known about this. But then after she said it, I noted it down and I still use it even till today, not despising the days of thy little beginning. For every morning I woke up, I wanted to go to work. I wasn't the best, but I kept going because I knew that was the lowest I was ever going to be. I kept showing up to this job. I was being paid 20,000 naira at that time while I was working there. But then that did not make me say, okay, you know what? I'm not going to show up for this job. I'm not going to keep going for this job. I'm just going to cry in depression because I don't have a job. Mm-mm. I was still going for this job and I was still prophesying that very soon I would have something much better doing. Again, I was still under the support of my parents, but I was building myself for a much more higher role. Now, many of us know that 20,000 naira job is not like a high class job. It's in fact it's a very, very people who do not go to school, they even earn more than that. But then if you find yourself in that situation, please do it. That is not the only job you're ever going to do. In fact, I don't encourage that when you do things like that, you stay there for 1 year, you stay there for 2 years. I encourage that you stay there for a few months while you're looking for something that you can do that is a lot more better than this. I tell you, at that time, I was still able to have my savings, maybe a little bit of it. I was still able to save. I was able to make my hair. I was able to get my airtime. I was able to pay for my transportation. You don't want to be a liability to people around you. Do you understand? So, like, do not despise these little beginnings. Still take this job. If you have any job that maybe pays a little bit higher than 20,000 naira, still take this job. But I do not encourage that you dwell on this job for years. You have to take the job while you're looking for something that is a lot more better to do. I still use this job experience in my resume. I still use this job experience in my career path. So these are the things that will build you up for the job that you envy, the job that you want to do, the high class job that you admire. So because I do not want the video to get longer than it already is, here is a recap of everything I have shared so far. The first is to keep showing up. The second is if you are not earning, you should be learning. The third is to let the boss be the boss. And the fourth is to do not despise the days of thy little beginning. I'm interested to hear what your job experience has been like, or what your first job experience has been like, and some things that you have learned from this. Please drop this on the comment section and I will be reading every comment. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and share my channel to your friends and family. I'll see you next time. Bye.